Hey everyone, I am wearing my Micah's sweater right now. I don't know if you can see it. You really can't see it, but I am in my Micah's sweater. If you haven't already, please go check out Micah's. You can use the app, you can use the website. Both are super user friendly. And if you want 12% off your first order, you can use my code. It's ESP12 and you get 12% off your first order. I absolutely love the sweater. I did a whole review on them, so please go check them out. Anyways, on to how my trip from Arizona to Ohio went. So I attempted to vlog some of it, although some of it I was driving, so I really couldn't. But I can speak to the first day of driving was not bad. It was once we entered New Mexico that we encountered such bad times. So we started to see snow, and at first, like when I would see like little like flurries of it, I thought like there's no way that's snow. Like we were in New Mexico, we had only been driving for like maybe 2 hours, and that's when we already got into New Mexico and we saw snow. And mind you, I was driving through it and like it wasn't super heavy snow, so I felt fine. Eventually we stopped and we went to pump gas. We played at like a dog park with Zena because the gas station had a dog park section, which I thought was really awesome, and I can't believe we didn't stop any on the way there. And so it was nice to get her to spread her feet. At this time, the whole trip seemed fine. Like it seemed like everything was going smoothly. We were, eating at Subway. He got his like Wendy's or McDonald's, whatever it was. And the whole thing just seemed okay. Dion took over driving, our car was doing fine, and then just stopped one more time in like this small little town. Once again, dog park, gas station, and we just got like small, like I got a bag of candies. I think it was a bag of like Nerds, and it was like the Nerd clusters. And because we fully thought like that night of driving, we were going to stop at a hotel in Amarillo, Texas, just on the other side, getting out of New Mexico. So I booked the hotel, we were ready, we were like, we're going to stay there and just grab dinner there and then like watch a movie and go to sleep and get ready for the next day of driving. And the more we drove in New Mexico, it was getting worse and worse. And at this point, Dion did take over. So I had like some footage of what it looked like. But honestly, like it just got so much worse and I could not take footage of it because I was trying to keep my eyes on the road to help Dion. So at one point, it was like zero visibility. I think like we were off of Route 66, but like kind of near it. So like I just kept thinking like, oh, it's the historical area, like how cool. I really wasn't thinking like, oh, we might get stranded around here. But we did get stranded in New Mexico in like the middle of nowhere. Like we were not on the big highway, we were on a side street because unfortunately our GPS was telling us the highway was like backed up 45 minutes late to get to like where we're trying to be at. And so the Apple Map and Google Maps both took us to a side street. And so on that side street, like I said, it was zero visibility. We were going up into like a mountain and it was really scary. Like we saw one car was stopped with their hazards and like we kept going. And then we saw another car next to us like get stuck and luckily we were able to keep going. Eventually we did get stuck on this road, and then after us we saw like, I want to say 6 more cars get stuck, 2 or 3 of them being semis. It was really bad, and like mind you, it was like high winds, lots of snow blowing around, and it was super scary because we really couldn't see the road and it was so dark out, so we really had like no idea where we were going. If we even wanted to move, like we really couldn't. We asked for help. At one point, one of the semi drivers got out of his car and walked towards our car, mind you, in like lots of snow and wind. We rolled out our window and talked to him, and he said like he recommends everyone try to call 911 to try to get some urgency on the fact that there's like 6 to 8 cars stranded in the middle of nowhere and some people might not have resources to make it through the night. I took a screenshot of our coordinates because like That's how serious it got. Was like I had no idea where I was, and I was just giving like the teleprompter person like my coordinates to come get us. The semi driver also let us know he tried to call like a tow truck company, and they said they were charging over like $1,000 to tow him out. So for us, it was like, yeah, we're probably gonna have to sit here all night. I felt really bad because like I could tell Dion was frustrated because our car just like bottomed out. Like there was really nothing we could do about it. I got some footage once we were stopped, but even this, like I feel like does not do it justice of how like scary and cold it was out there, and how much like just the wind was pulling the snow all around. It was just freezing. Luckily we had, I want to say a little bit, like maybe like 285 miles left till E, so we were good on gas. Like thank God we stopped to pump when we did. I do wish I would have gotten like chips or like more snacks, but you know, we just kind of had to wait it out. And we kept calling the operator's line to see like what updates they could give us. They ended up putting us in contact with the highway patrol, and he let us know like there is no way we're sleeping out there. They were going to send help. This was at about like 9 p.m. Mind you, we got stuck around like 8 p.m. And so like it gave me a little bit of hope, but it was like, it was false hope. No one ever came at night. We did spend the night out in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico. We only had a gallon of water with us, which thank God we had a gallon of water, because like, could you imagine not having any water whatsoever? We didn't have any food. We just had like those little nerd clusters, and I felt really bad because at one point Dion looked at me and he was like, God, we didn't get dinner. Like, aren't you hungry? And I was like, I'm trying not to think about it. Okay. And so like I was really in like panic adrenaline mode. Like we were really in the middle of nowhere. At one point the sheriff did drive over, and it was like around 11 p.m. So mind you, now we've been out there for like 2 to 3 hours like stuck. And it was like once again a little glimmer of hope. I'm like, oh, they're here to help. No, he just stopped and asked everyone like if they were okay. When he came to our car, he specifically was like, do y'all have like food and water? And we were like, no, we don't have food, but we have water. And he was like, okay, like we'll be checking on you guys throughout the night. And in my head I'm like, is that their way of telling us that we're gonna be stuck out here? Like, and then it just was really bad because I also didn't want to like make it all about me, because I did find out later that there was a crash on the main road, which is why everyone was being detoured to the road that we were on. And that crash, I guess, like was like a really jam-packed one, and it was right in between New Mexico and Texas, so that's where a lot of the resources were going. There was ambulances over there, police officers there, so they were getting obviously more of the attention because it was something that was a little more dangerous than what we were in. Luckily we were all just like in our cars stuck, no one had to like hit each other, but still just like the entire thing was just so scary. So around 6 a.m. I woke up, and like we both had been like sleeping on and off, and luckily Xena was like the best girl during the whole thing. Like she was in the backseat just fine. We would take her out every now and then to go bathroom outside, and like she felt fine. Like I don't think she realized anything was going wrong. For us it was like, okay, like let me go like hide on the other side of the car to go bathroom, because there was literally cars all around us. Like that was probably the worst part, is going to the bathroom outside, because like we had nowhere to go. It was a mess. 6:35 comes around and there's still no one there. I'm like in shock that this is like how life is going, but so thankful again that like our car had enough gas to make it through the whole night. I think around like 6 in the morning, that's just when we started to get down to like maybe like 150 miles left, and I just got to watch the sunrise at 7:01. Like once again, no one was there to help. It was just me and Xena hanging out. Dion was getting his sleep in. I just could not believe like how long we'd been out there, from 8 p.m. the night before, but luckily like the snowstorm like had stopped. So in the morning the sunrise looked like really beautiful. You could see the snow was finally settled. It wasn't blowing around anymore. But you could also see like how stuck we were once we got out of the car to take Xena out. Like we were fully bottomed out. I had called 911 again, like to talk to the operator and ask about like any updates, since like I thought we weren't gonna be sleeping out there. And they really didn't have much updates. They just said like they are working on clearing out the highway still, and they'll eventually get to our road. Our road would be like second priority because it was hanging like off of the main highway. Around 7:30 is when I finally started to see plow trucks. And once again, I got hope. I think this whole video is just like a reminder that like you can get hope and have hope, but like it doesn't mean anything. So I had hope, but unfortunately the the plow truck drivers told Dion they really couldn't do anything to help us out. All they could do was like plow around us, but even then they couldn't get too close to the car because of their own regulations. And so I was just like livid at this point because I'm like, we still have a whole like 20 some hours to drive, and like we're just stuck here in New Mexico, like the last place I'd rather be. Luckily at 8 a.m. this like nice, I think he was a post office worker, stopped, and he was in his regular civilian vehicle and was like, do you guys need help? We were like, yes. And so he like hitched up the car to his vehicle. He had like the whole thing like ready to like do the thing. Like it's like he had done this before. Like he was just so great. We ended up, I ended up giving Dion like some cash. I'm like, please give this to this guy. Like, and he did happily. He was like, yeah, here's like $40. Thanks for helping us. Like, because I don't know how much longer we would have been stuck out there if this guy had not stopped to help us. He pulled us out, and like I have a little bit of a video of like how much snow he pulled us out of. I just really could not believe how much snow like we were stuck in. But you can see the roads were like finally plowed. There was cars moving on the road. It was just such a mess. I really could not believe that, one, the city was not prepared for something like this, and two, that the maps kept putting people back on that road that was not plowed, and obviously cars couldn't get through. Zena the whole time was so good. She was just like so calm. That's my sweet girl. That was awful. That whole thing was awful. Our first meal was like corn dogs at the gas station that was like 5 miles down the street. Like, mind you, the guy like he pulled us out and then like showed us where the gas station was, which I thought, once again, like he's so helpful. We went to pump gas, and I had never been like so happy in my life to be done with something. Like I just couldn't believe like that night was over because it was miserable. I had never in my life experienced anything like that, and I have a lot of crazy stories but nothing like that. Like I never had to sleep in my car during a snowstorm. 10 out of 10, do not recommend. And every road trip now, if we even go on another road trip, every road trip now I will be like fully prepared with like sleeping bags. So I would like to say that was the worst of it, but like it kind of kept getting worse. So we finally get done pumping gas, eating our corn dogs, and we're at this point we're like really dumb because I'm like, we're just gonna get corn dogs because we're gonna stop at Buc-ee's in Texas once we're there. Okay, all we have to do is get out of New Mexico. Like I just couldn't wait to get out. Unfortunately, we get to the highway that is from New Mexico to Texas, and it's closed. Like we're at a standstill. Finally, a police officer comes over to us, and he's like, by the way, like the road is open on New Mexico side, but it's closed on Texas side. Once it opens, we'll go around and wake people up. Because the semi drivers literally had to sleep in their cars, like in the semis on the highway. It was a total mess. Once again, Zena was doing great. We took her out potty. We were literally on the highway at a standstill, just waiting for it to open. It is 10:12, and they just opened up the Texas side of the highway, which is what we've been here waiting for. Mind you, we slept in our car all last night. I think we got stopped around 8 o'clock. And so I'm extremely tired, and I feel like I never want to do this again in my life. So yeah, just waiting for everything to open back up. Right now the New Mexico highway is open. That's how we got on this highway. It's just a matter of Texas opening up their side, and the cop did let us know they opened it up. but they're waiting on the drivers to wake up because there was semis that just got stuck out here and had to sleep like on the highway as well, like how we did, except we were on like the back road. So I'm hoping that we get to Ohio on Sunday. By Sunday would be perfect, but we'll see. Right, the highway finally opened up. We made it to Amarillo, Texas, and we are at Buc-ee's. We are gonna load up on snacks because we think this could happen again. We think we might get stuck on the highway again, also make it to a hotel in time. But it's been really bad weather. The roads have not really been taken care of, and I'm very nervous to drive on them, but excited to finally be moving again. Okay, so it's a little vlog in real time with me trying to narrate it. So as you saw, Buc-ee's is eventually like the move for us. We got all kinds of food, chowed down completely. Like, we just really could not believe it. That's like kind of how the trip started. Like, it was just really awful. Once again, like, I am so thankful that we were safe and nothing happened to us. Like, God, like, had we had like some condition where we like needed to eat, like, we would have really been done for. Had our car not had gas, we would have literally been sleeping in a cold car. Like, I'm really, really thankful for how things played out. Of course, I wouldn't want to be in a snowstorm ever again, but like, we had definitely God like just watching out for us because it was so scary. Eventually we got like back on the road. We drove, we went to the gas station, and we tried to make the best of it. Like, at that point, like, we were delusional. like at that point we were delusional of the trip because like we just really couldn't believe that happened to us. So we stopped at like a dog park and played with Xena, and once again, like, I just felt like being Delulu was the Salulu. Like, we kind of acted like that whole miserable night didn't happen and just kept it pushing. Also, might be good to call out, the whole time of that snowstorm, the only one that had food was Xena. Like, so no wonder she was like being so good and behaved like in the car. Like, she had food, she was taking up our water, like she was like living a fine life. So I'm thankful that we had her dog food ready, like to just like whip out and give to her. She was still getting all her meals while we were just like suffering. Once I started to see like signs of like Louisville, Indianapolis, and like Chicago, I was like, close, we're so close to the finish line. I drove a little bit after we left that dog park and gas station, and then Dion only slept for like 2 hours and then was like, I'm ready to drive again. And I was like, okay. So he picked it up and drove us. It was like maybe on the other side of like St. Louis is where he got us to. And then he was like, okay, I'm ready to like sleep now, because like he did a lot of driving and it was all through the night. So at like 7 a.m. in St. Louis is when I took the wheel and just began driving. And I feel like the last little signs of hope were like seeing signs of like Chicago, Indianapolis, Louisville. I knew we were getting close. And so I was like, all right, I'll just do the last haul of this drive. At one point, while I was driving, I handed him my phone and I'm like, record this, because we were seeing the Ohio sign and that was like everything to me. Once again, I will never road trip. I will never road trip that long again, and I don't want to road trip in like a car again. Like I need to be in like a higher vehicle. And I need to check the weather services next time because that snowstorm was so scary. Okay, so I made it home. It obviously was not planned to stop and be stuck in a snowstorm, but very thankful that we made it out alive and that we made it home. It was one of the longest like road trips I've ever taken, probably the longest. When I was younger, we would drive to Mexico, but I think this was longer, and then with like the snow and whatnot, it just was so long. But glad to be home, and I think now I need to make like a survival guide for winter because there's so much snow everywhere, and I just can't believe we slept in our car during a snowstorm. So thank you for watching, and I'll see y'all next time.